Good evening, and welcome back to another episode of KJ's What Happened. And already here comes Chubbs. Chubbs, are you gonna be like this all night? No. Okay. I don't ask for my own time very often with you, but when I do these shows, it's kind of my time, you know? All right, there you go. Chubbs is my cat. Kind of a sidekick, I guess. Anyway, if this is your first time listening to the show, you're probably really lost and wondering what's going on. Basically, I look back on the week, what I consider kind of the gems, the ones that really stand out, the stories. Sometimes they're a little crazy. Sometimes they're a little funny. And sometimes they're a little random. But anyway, thanks again for being here, guys. I really appreciate it. And let's just go ahead and get started here. So you've probably heard about this right here, the migrant caravan. And last I'd heard, apparently Mexico's planning on letting them through, or it seems to be the plan here. And they're coming for America. So they have this story right here. Donald Trump is the Antichrist and is going to hell. Let's see what this is. A Central American migrant in the 7,000-strong army headed for the United States told CNN over the weekend that Donald Trump is the Antichrist and he is going to hell. Donald Trump is the Antichrist, the angry migrant shouted at CNN's Bill Weir in Spanish at the border between Mexico and Guatemala. If he doesn't repent, he is going to hell, he said. We are not criminals, we are workers and fighters, the military-age man said. There's something from Paul Joseph Watson. It says, question, if these people love America so much that they would risk their lives to get there, why are they also painting swastikas on American flags and burning them? Good question. And this one says, the Honduran caravan is hostile. They are not coming in peace. They are not oppressed people seeking asylum. They are Honduran flag-carrying, law-breaking animals. They should be stopped by any and all means possible. Blast them back to Honduras, that one says. It says the refugees seeking asylum were seen wearing acid-washed jeans and brand new white shoes, which appear spotless. I guess that's that. Fox News reported Monday that about 80% of the estimated 7,000 migrants in the caravan are men under the age of 35. This really is the New World Order in action. This is breaking down the borders, right? Pulling everything together. And they are doing the same thing in Europe with groups from the Middle East. They had their migrant crisis out there, right? It's like flooding other countries. And that's what they're trying to do here in America now. It's interesting, isn't it? That really is the, breaking down the borders. This stuff is funded by different globalist groups. Because this is ultimately the end game. So there you go. I love how this is just a story that's just out there. This is great. Because I remember there was a time when you would mention things like this, that there's companies that actually, there's companies out there where you can actually hire protesters. That used to be more of a conspiracy theory. People would think you're crazy saying stuff like that. And now right here it is. California company that hires protesters is accused of extortion. Sorry, I live near a highway, and that was a really loud motorcycle, if you heard that or not. And sorry if that was a bit of an awkward opening, but Chubbs kind of got in the way. He was messing around here, and kind of took me off my game for a second. This is what he does from time to time. But anyway, we're under control now, and we're moving along nicely. So let's go ahead and get into this story here. Paid protesters are real. Crowds on Demand, a Beverly Hills company that's an outspoken player in the business of hiring protesters, boasts on its website that it provides its clients with, quote, protests, rallies, flash mobs, paparazzi events, and other inventive PR stunts. We provide everything, including the people, the materials, and even the ideas. But according to a lawsuit filed by Czech investor, Crowds on Demand also takes on more sordid assignments. Zdeněk Bakala, it's a hard name, Zdeněk Bakala claims the company has been used to run an extortion campaign against him. Bakala has accused Prague investment manager Pavel Krupa, there's some pretty wild names here, Pavel Krupa, of hiring Crowds on Demand to pay protesters to march near his home in Hilton Head, South Carolina, and to call and send emails to the Aspen Institute and Dartmouth College, where Bakala is on advisory boards urging them to cut ties to him. Bakala alleges that Krupa has threatened to continue and expand the campaign unless Bakala pays him $23 million. Not really getting into that whole part of the story. I just thought it was interesting that they're just putting it right out there now about these companies that hire protesters. And that matters, right? I mean, you don't want to run around. You don't want to say that nothing's real. Everything's an illusion, necessarily, right? But we're living in just a whole new kind of a reality now. Where it seems like anything's possible. So with every news story that does come out, you really have to use all your resources to try to figure out if it's real or not. Your logic, reason, common sense, critical thinking, discernment. This is a really crazy story here because it says Burger King is unleashing the Nightmare King Burger for Halloween, which they claim actually causes nightmares. And there's a picture. It says Burger King is going all out for Halloween this year, recently putting up for grabs their brand new Scary Black Cherry Frozen Fanta drink, a pitch black beverage that's turning tongues black this Halloween season. But that's not all, as they've also just unleashed a sequel to the recent Halloween Whopper from a few years back, the Nightmare King. Unveiled by New York Daily News today, the Nightmare King has a green bun, and Burger King claims that it's been scientifically proven to cause nightmares. No, seriously, we're not kidding. According to previous studies, 4% of the population experiences nightmares in any given night. Dr. Jose Gabriel Medina, a somnologist, sleep disorder specialist, and the study's lead doctor, said in a statement. But after eating the Nightmare King, the data obtained from the study indicated that the incidence of nightmares increased by 3.5 times. Allegedly, the offering's combination of proteins and cheeses are to blame. The site notes that the green bun is made from all-natural coloring from watermelons, the burger featuring a quarter pound of flame-grilled beef, a white meat crispy chicken fillet, melted American cheese, thick cut bacon, mayonnaise, and onions on a glazed green sesame seed bun. Would you eat one of those things? I don't know. Who wants nightmares? I mean, yeah, I'm not saying it can actually do that, but even if it could, would you want that? It's crazy. Whoa, speaking of crazy, this is some really interesting footage here. Check this out. Ghost-like figure during hailstorm caught on camera in Buenos Aires. So let me see if I can make this a little bigger. Check this out. I mean, this is startling. Wow, right?
Se levantó, Paco. No, estaba en el piso, Paco.
All right, so one more time. Check this out. Look, materializes right there. I mean, that is right. I mean, usually things like this, I believe they're spiritual, unless there's some kind of, unless they find some earthly explanation for these things. I typically see them as something spiritual. So it's interesting because oftentimes these spirits are shapeshifters. And look at that shape. It's really it's obviously in the traditional ghost kind of a shape, right? It's kind of interesting. But let's see one more time. Watch it as it materializes there. Wild. Read some of the story. See what they say here. A priest has reportedly offered to help a woman who captured a mysterious ghost-like image on camera while she was trying to film a storm. The 30-year-old woman, named only as Johanna, was filming a hailstorm in Buenos Aires, Argentina, with her phone. But when she checked the footage later that night, she was frightened to see the clear image of a ghost-like figure suddenly appear and start hovering in the night sky. Interesting. And now the local priest is called at her home, offering to give her a blessing to calm her fears after he heard about the video. When I looked towards the street, I did not see anything, but looking at my mobile phone, I was seeing a light that had a shape. I do not know what it is. I was shocked. My husband and I were frozen in fear, she said. I usually film it when it hails to show my children. I never imagined something like this would appear. I don't really know what it is. I didn't see it with my eyes, only through my phone. Pretty crazy though, huh? I told you, as we're getting closer to Halloween, so there are a lot of really creepy stories tonight. Hope you're okay with that. All right, get ready. Prepare yourself. It's going to get a little creepy up in here tonight. I'm telling you. If I hadn't already. Mysterious UFOs in shape of white circles of light beam across skies of Manchester. So apparently these are being seen in a lot of different places. But let's check this out. I'll read some here. Dozens of people have claimed they spotted a UFO flying over Greater Manchester, with dozens of photos and videos being shared of the odd sight. The mysterious white circles of light were reported by people in Gorton, Denton, Droylsden, and parts of Stockport at around 8:30 p.m. on Monday night. Some suggested the lights were from a circus or from a film or television crew shooting at night. Other more outlandish theories suggested the spotlights in the sky could be from a UFO. Let's see. See if we can watch the video here. Oh, there it is. I don't know. That's really not that impressive, huh? Now that I look at it again. It could just be spotlights or something. Okay. That's definitely not one of the better ones. But moving on. So here's a crazy one. Sex-crazed fish becoming super horny because of huge levels of antidepressants in water supply. Yes, you heard that right. Fish are becoming increasingly horny because of massive quantities of unnatural chemicals in the water, according to a study. Prozac, used as an antidepressant in humans, is making fish hell-bent on reproduction. researchers from Monash University found. Animals that were given the drug in a tank in a lab spent more time chasing females than those that weren't. Scientist Michael Bertram dosed male mosquito fish in an aquarium with high and low quantities of fluoxetine, I don't know how to say that, the active ingredient in Prozac. The fish given higher doses showed more frequent copulatory behavior and spent more time pursuing females, he described. Mr. Bertram wrote in Science Trends, in one-on-one mating rituals, males in the high fluoxetine treatment performed more frequent copulatory behavior towards females than did males in the unexposed treatment. Okay. Well, the way they made it sound, antidepressants in the water supply, they make it sound like it's that there's antidepressants in our water supply, which that's been found too, though, in real life, at least in America that I know of. I'm not sure about the UK. All right, so we fell for another one from these guys. All right, let's see what else we got here. This one's just kind of a goofy optical illusion. Check this out. It's a bit of a doom break before we get into the really scary stuff. All right? Just a little bit of a doom break. It does look really cool, though. Isn't that crazy? That's awesome. All right, there's the doom break. Okay, so moving on, let's get to some doom. Invisible child filmed playing on swing in haunting footage that left locals terrified. This should be interesting. Says the strange video captured in Saudi Arabia shows a moment when a group of men believe they came across a ghost. Out there, they'd call it a jinn, probably. In front of them, a set of swings begin rocking back and forth as if a child is playing, but there's nobody in sight. The bizarre act sent the men into a state of hysteria as they tried to explain what they had just seen. So let's see what we got here. Whipped them up into a state of hysteria, it says.
خلوا يا ابو فارس ها خلوا يلعب يعني المشكله لو ان الشغله لو ان الشغله هواء لا ما هي هواء لو ان الشغله هواء كان اللي جنبه ولا وهذه هو اللي هناك اشتغله هو الحاله لا هذه حاله ولا عنده
That's pretty chill for hysteria. I'm just saying.
والله ثقيل يا شيخ لا ما هي هواء انا هو شوف منين جاي لا ولا وبعدين يا اخي هذيك ما اشتغلت اللي بجنبه ما اشتغلت كلها ايش معنى انا والله سبحان الله يمكن نسمي عليه وغد صغير ما يخفى ها
Anyway, there you go. Haunted swing set. State of hysteria, said. I didn't notice any hysteria. It's just me. I think that I think this is an older story. Yeah, we covered this one last week, but still, I guess since it's up here. Transgender man identifies as as a dog and says chasing sticks and playing on all fours has brought him closer to his husband. But there is something I think I wanted to show you about this. Anyway, it's sick, right? I mean, it's obviously kind of crazy stuff, but man, they had a picture of him wearing a different kind of a mask, like a Dalmatian or something. Let me see. Let's see, Tony McGinn. So let's do this, or Tony Bark. I'm going somewhere with this. You'll see. Hang tight. I guess he's not going to be that easy to find. Tony Bark. Okay, there we go. That's what I was looking for. It's just something I kind of noticed, which is just, it's weird anyway. I mean, this is all really perverted and just crazy stuff. But anyway, this picture right here, the first time I'd seen this story, it was one of these pictures here where he's like a Dalmatian, see? And I don't know if you knew about this or not, but this is just like this. This is how the TV series Preacher presents the Lord God as one of these people that dress up like a dog. So I know, right? A lot of you probably didn't know about this show. See, look at that. Even the backwards writing and everything. It's just total perversion, man. In God we trust. And then they have our Heavenly Father is a dog, a guy in a Dalmatian dog suit. Anyway, moving on. I know that was a bit random, but that's what we do. Hysteria, get it? Inside notorious Serpent church where devotees die from grabbing rattlesnakes, drinking deadly poison, and setting fire to their skin to prove their faith. This is the nail-biting moment a pastor drinks fatal poison while holding up a deadly rattlesnake with his bare hands and miraculously survives. As the deadly strychnine, which can cause muscle spasms, convulsions, and asphyxia, begins to take hold, Pastor Chris Wolford has to sit down on the altar, struggling to breathe and sweating profusely. Chris had mixed a white powder with water to make a clear liquid in the glass jar before drinking from the supposed poison. But just minutes later, the preacher is up on his feet, dancing and praising God while swinging the eerily motionless but still alive snake through the air. Shockingly, Pastor Chris Wolford was just 11 when he watched his dad hemorrhage to death from a snake bite during his service. His brother also died from the same dangerous practices, but he refuses to lose faith in God and the signs religion. The faith is practiced in the Appalachian Mountains of Kentucky, Virginia, and West Virginia, and is based on a literal interpretation of a passage in the Bible, Mark 16:18, which says, "They shall take up serpents, and if they drink any deadly thing, it shall not hurt them. They shall lay hands on the sick, and they shall recover." Earlier this year, dramatic footage emerged of Pastor Cody Coots. We showed that one here on the show. I remember that. Who was almost killed by a rattlesnake during a ritual at another church in Kentucky. Many of the religion's churches, only a handful of which still remain open, are often closed to outsiders and cameras, particularly as snake handling is illegal in Virginia and Kentucky. But Sun Online was granted exclusive access to one of Chris's church in Squire, West Virginia, which he says is open to all. Before the service, Chris paces up and down, cries and prays as he gets ready to lead his congregation. Music is a huge part of the faith, and as the two guitarists and drummers start playing their mixture of blues and country music, Chris starts to preach. His mother, Vicky, 73, comes to the front and begins spinning round and round, eyes closed as her son praises Jesus. Just a bummer when I see this stuff, because obviously, typically it's used for an agenda to kind of paint any follower of Christ or believer into cuckoo corner, Chris then lights a torch in a glass bottle, and Vicky holds it next to her neck without flinching and leaving no sign of any burn marks. The pastor quickly takes the hissing rattlesnake out of its wooden box and begins swinging it in the air. At some point, he throws the snake to the floor and stands on it. The service ends with singing and testimonies from individuals about how God has saved them before everyone cheerfully gathers in the basement to share dinner next to Chris's snake den. Exhausted, Chris sits down and tells me it can take him days to recover, but nevertheless, he'll be back the next week to do it all again. What do you think about that? Huh? What do you guys think about that? Set back off the main road just a few miles from the border of Virginia and West Virginia, the small wooden church looks similar to the dozens of others that dot the rural Bible Belt area. The serpent-handling churches are believed to have originated as early as the 1800s and are an offshoot of the Pentecostal faith. In the past 6 years, there have been 3 recorded deaths in the U.S. from snake bites during religious services. Chris does not advertise that his church practices serpent handling on the outside after receiving threats to burn down the building from rival Christian groups who believe the practice is against the Word of God. Chris, a recovered drug addict, set at the church after he said God saved him from addictions to crystal meth, cocaine, and pain pills, and his congregation has grown from just 3 to over 30 in just 2 years. He decided to open his own church after the death of his brother Randy, who is also a pastor in the faith. Many members of the congregation claim that they have been healed from other addictions such as alcoholism, as well as illnesses such as lupus and heart conditions. Deadly poison. Do not drink that. I guess people think that by taking up serpents that we're crazy, but the Bible says if I be a fool, I be a fool for Christ, Chris said. We've had people healed just in the past few months, even a little baby of about 9 months old who had a fever and couldn't stop vomiting. I've been healed twice. When I broke my ribs in a car wreck, I remember walking into church in so much pain and I could hardly breathe, and somebody put their hands on my ribs and I walked out a different person. When I was on drugs, I wasn't even living. All that dope, all that alcohol, all those parties and things that I would go and think, boy, I'm having fun. It wasn't even until God came into my life that I actually knew what it was like to be alive or to live. Out of all the dope I've ever done, I tell people there's no greater feeling than the power of God moving on you and through you. When God moves on you to take up those serpents, words can't describe that feeling. Anyway, yikes. Here you go. Some of y'all been looking for a new church. I see people in the comments section sometimes, and they've been shopping, church shopping, and well, there you go. Maybe. I wouldn't go. Wow, it's wild. I think this is a news story. Neighbor kills Oklahoma man trying to drown twin babies. It's pretty crazy here. News story, but news clip, I think. Let's see. I guess not. So this happened in my home state. I thought it was kind of unusual. A neighbor shot and killed an Oklahoma man who was trying to drown his 3-month-old twins in a bathtub, police said Sunday. The babies were doing great Sunday after having been released from the hospital, police in Ada told NBC News. That's a small town, Ada. Investigators were reviewing whether Cash Freeman of Ada, about 50 miles southeast of Oklahoma City, should face charges in the shooting death on Friday of Leland Foster, 27, said Lisa Bratcher, a spokeswoman for Ada police. Bratcher said Foster, who lives in Poto, about 130 miles east of Ada, showed up at a home where his estranged wife, identified as Michelle Forles, was staying with their twins. When Foster pulled Forles and their children into a bathroom and started trying to drown the children while holding Forles at knife point. A 12-year-old girl also living in the house ran for help, Bratcher said. Freeman, a neighbor, grabbed his revolver, entered the home, saw Foster trying to kill the children, and shot him twice in the back. So Bratcher said there might be police video of officers' response to the incident. Okay, there you go. That's the story. Pretty wild. A neighbor, Summer Pierce, called the incident awful. I've held the babies and I've played with them and I just gave them clothes. I think you did the right thing because who knows what would happen, Pierce said. Who knows what would have happened to the babies if he hadn't intervened. Crazy. This is some really cool footage here. Check this out. It's from UFO Mania. Mysterious lights in the sky over Cambodia. Check these out. It's a fallen angel light show here. Now watch. I've seen footage like this before. I've shown some of this on my channel. Just these lights. Talking earlier how these things shapeshift. It's a good example right here. Fallen Angel Light Show. Lying Signs and Wonders. Demonic interdimensionals. Like literally seeing proof of the spiritual here. Anyway, there you go. Thought it was interesting. Thought that was some real standout kind of footage there. Always fascinating. So much going on in the skies, man, all the time. I'm going to do another video soon about that. I've been collecting a lot of really good clips and examples. So this is another video I've been kind of tinkering with here for a while. It's just about the rise of the Antichrist spirit. And this is a way I've really been seeing it come in strong is through politics. You know, I've never been a huge fan of politics. You guys know I don't really do videos very often on politics, but you kind of have to watch it now. It's interesting because it really is showing some, true nature in different people and different groups. And what we're seeing is really scary. We're seeing people really drop the mask, specifically from the left, right? Drop their masks, become very violent and acting out. And people are beyond civil discussion. It's a spirit, it's moving through a lot of people right now. People are looking for a fight, looking to take it to the next level. Attacks on public figures are growing. Recently, Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner boarded a flight from D.C. to New York. This type of flight is termed a shuttle flight due to its quick and direct link between D.C. and New York. Business people, power brokers, and decision makers who need to fly the fastest way between these two centers of national power usually occupy the flight. On any given day, the shuttle flight is filled with famous people, politicians, decision makers, and sometimes heavily armed federal law enforcement officers. Oftentimes, these federal agents use the shuttle to commute. Other times, these federal agents are working, often doing the delicate and dangerous job of protecting some individuals on that flight. When Ivanka and Jared got on the flight, they weren't alone. Due to their individual positions as a senior advisor to the president, they had Secret Service protection that is well known, or at least many would expect. While on the 40-minute flight, no one bothered Jared or Ivanka. When they landed, Jared, Ivanka, and their Secret Service detail politely waited for the rest of the passengers to deplane, but one passenger decided to wait. As the Secret Service or anyone who performs protection knows, when someone is waiting, they usually have a reason, and in some cases it can be nefarious. As the Secret Service detail with Jared and Ivanka started to move to deplane, the waiting individual stood, reached into their pocket, pulled out something, and started to spin towards Jared and Ivanka. The Secret Service was already focused on this individual's suspicious activity and reacted as they were trained. They intercepted the individual, redirected their movement, and shielded Ivanka and Jared from the path of the individual. They're saying individual a lot. I just noticed that. Anyway, it turns out that the perceived threat was a member of the media. Later, the individual was identified as a CBS reporter who stated they were trying to ask the couple questions about the death of Saudi missing journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Okay, I hope we're going somewhere with this. All right, let's see. Needless to say, her actions caused the Secret Service to be alarmed, especially with our tumultuous times. During the 2016 campaign, Jared and Ivanka often suffered the wrath of anti-Trump beratement on flights, including with their children. Protesters and the media have also targeted them since President Trump was elected to office. People say that those that put themselves in the public purview make a deal with the devil, quote unquote. When in public, they are expected to receive a certain amount of public attention, but for those such as Jared and Ivanka, the DHS Secretary, Attorney General, members of Congress, or White House Press Secretary, the deal has gotten more devilish as time has gone on. Anyway, I'm not going to go ahead and I'm not going to read this whole thing here. They're just giving more examples of how public figures are being harassed, but I'm sure you've seen a lot on this as well. It's a movement. It's a thought movement, or it's a spiritual movement in my eyes that I've been watching. And, once I collect enough stories on this, I'm sure I'll put something together, which sucks kind of in a way. I don't want to have to put more stories like this together. I don't want to see this thing grow. I don't like seeing the violence growing in people this way. I mean, just the pure hatred, that false left-right paradigm, that whole thing it's all shifting, I mean, the truth is coming out on everything, and it's getting messy, it's getting messy. Some people that have been a part of that paradigm are they're going to have a hard time transitioning, I think. Everything's changing right now. So it's very interesting. Anyway, it's something I'm watching. Antichrist spirit when I see stuff like this. Growing violence, people just growing cold. Speaking of which, this is a pretty wild story here too. 63 remains of fetuses removed from Perry Funeral Home in Detroit. You guys heard about any of this? In a rapidly widening investigation of Metro Detroit funeral homes, Detroit police executed a search warrant at a West Side funeral home near Wayne State University and removed 63 remains of fetuses, the police said. Custody of the remains, found at the Perry Funeral Home on Trumbull, just north of Warren Avenue, was turned over to state investigators, who immediately declared the business closed and its license suspended, according to a statement from Michigan Licensing and Regulatory Affairs. Of the grisly total, there were 36 fetuses stored in boxes and another 27 found in freezers. Police said Friday's discovery of the decomposed remains followed a similar grisly finding last week at the defunct Cantrell Funeral Home on Detroit's east side, where 11 infants' remains were found after an anonymous letter arrived in the offices of state regulators in Lansing. Wow, this is a very interesting story to keep your eyes on, what's happening out here. Friday's raid at the Perry home came after Detroit homicide detectives also raided QA Cantrell Funeral Home in East Point to investigate a potential connection with the fetuses found on the ceiling of Cantrell Funeral Home in Detroit. Detectives seized computers, business cell phones, and paperwork, according to a news release. They also raided the home of the owner, Annetta Cantrell, the widow of the deceased founder of the Detroit home with the same name. Detroit Police Chief James Craig said he was stunned. So I've never seen anything like this in my 41 and a half years as a police officer, Craig said at a news conference. It's disturbing, but we'll get to the bottom of this. Craig said police were tipped off to violations at the Perry Funeral Home by a father involved in a civil suit over the improper burial of his infant daughter. Lawyers for the father as well as the mother of the deceased baby said the parents are plaintiffs in a lawsuit that they hope will allow them to represent dozens, perhaps scores of parents whose infants' remains were improperly handled by the Perry Funeral Home. This case would obviously become a class action lawsuit representing every parent who comes forward with a similar complaint. Interesting, though, when I see these kind of stories, though, between the lines, I see ritual. I think ritual. I wonder ritual. So I'll be watching these stories, this whole thing as well, out here in Detroit. It's interesting. I'm glad they obviously are trying to find the connection, and it'll be very interesting to see if they ever release what they find, right? This one's pretty wild. Have you guys seen that joke? It says something like 1999, don't ride with strangers. 2008, don't talk to people on the internet. 2018, Uber, something like that. I probably got it wrong, but anyway. So yeah, I was just I saw that one actually earlier today. But here's a story you might enjoy. Let's watch this one together. What do you say? This is Lyft, I believe. It's a Lyft story. Okay, let's.
I'm alive because honestly, I didn't think I was gonna make it.
A Woodland woman is speaking out after a trip on Lyft that ended with police putting the driver in cuffs. Those scary moments played out as she was on her way to pick up her husband from the hospital.
New tonight, CBS 13 Steve Large is live in Natomas with this rideshare nightmare, Steve.
And this is where this woman's ride abruptly came to an end. These app-based car services are gaining in popularity, but police are warning, ultimately, you're still getting into a car with a stranger.
Honestly, it was the scariest thing I've ever went through in my life.
Christy Gomez had only used Lyft a couple times before, but she knew this ride wasn't right.
The real first sign was once we got on the freeway, he literally started crying. But it was crying, but then he was laughing at the same time and crying.
She was traveling from her home in Woodland to pick up her husband at Kaiser Hospital in Sacramento, what should have been a 25-mile trip.
I couldn't get out in the middle of the road. I didn't know what to do, but I knew that I was in trouble.
And the trip got even stranger.
He literally was like this, no hands on the steering wheel, like this, and he's telling me, tell him when to go. Tell me when to go, when to turn. Tell me when to go. Then he at the same time, he's like, I can't do this anymore. I can't go through like this anymore.
Fearing the worst, she reached out to her mom and husband.
I was texting them both, and I was so scared.
Eventually, Christy convinced the driver to pull over in a Natomas shopping center, saying she had to go to the bathroom.
As soon as I got out of that car, I booked it, and I just ran into Starbucks.
Sacramento police arrived and found the driver locked in a gas station bathroom. Officers say he was acting erratically, covered in soap, and trying to bite them. He was taken into custody and put on a mental health hold. Tonight, Lyft issued a statement saying, we have deactivated the driver's account as we collect more details and have been in contact with the passenger affected.
I knew he was going to do something. It was just a matter of time.
She thought she'd be safe. Now she's saying it was a mistake. She won't make again.
Never, ever again.
Wild, right?
I learned my lesson.
What about you guys? Have you ever had any weird experiences with Lyft or with Uber at all? Please feel free to share. Yeah, this one's really wild too. You've probably heard about this. I'm sure people have been making videos on this one. You seen that big slab right there? It says, here's how that weird rectangular looking iceberg came to be. So I guess for the last couple of days, people have been sharing this image here, and it's obviously went viral. So now they're this is NBC News. So again, I don't know how much of any of this stuff we can trust half the time, but they may just be trying to explain it away. I'm not sure. But either way, we'll check it out. This is what they say. Says this past week, an aerial photo of an iceberg as flat, square, and smooth as a sheet cake set the internet aflame with rumors of alien visitors and chainsaw-wielding glaciologists. The picture was snapped on October 16th by scientists working with Operation Icebridge, a NASA mission that monitors the ways polar regions are responding to climate change. The researchers saw the rectangular berg floating off the coast of northern Antarctica during a survey of the region's polar ice. Despite its usual appearance, tabular icebergs like these are actually completely natural, so that should be unusual, right? Despite its unusual appearance, tabular icebergs like these are actually completely natural. Kelly Brunt, a NASA glaciologist and an associate research scientist at the University of Maryland, said in an interview with Live Science. She added that these flat-topped and angular ice sheets are typically wider than they are deep and can span hundreds of miles across. Though the iceberg in the photo hasn't been measured, Brunt estimates that it's about 1 mile across, though she added, like all icebergs, only about 10% of it is visible above the water. Boring. Okay, we get it with all the science stuff, right? Boring. It looks cool, right? But they explained it away, I guess. There you go. Love it. White Privilege Symposium will feature racial justice board game. Sounds like fun. What could go wrong? The community college will host a white privilege symposium today and tomorrow that will explore such topics as constructive white conversations and the N-word, as well as a racial justice board game. North Shore Community College's Power, Privilege, Progress, Awareness to Action event is billed as an engaging, deep learning experience with an exchanging of ideas on the issues of privilege and power in the history of our country. Attendees of the event will hear from keynote speakers and participate in workshops such as the Guide for White Women Who Teach Black Boys and 10 Reasons Why America Can't Talk About Race. The cost of attendance is $75. Wow, people are going to pay $75 for this? Students will pay $50, and North Shore Community College students will attend for free. One workshop at the event will be devoted to a playthrough of the board game Road to Racial Justice, which, according to the game's website, supports and encourages cross-cultural understanding and compassionate action in order to help create a more loving and just world. The board game was created by Kisa Kivel, a Los Angeles-based educator, artist, and activist engaged in social justice issues. The first comment says, any white privilege is an earned privilege. More white males died to protect and free people from all colors, religions, etc. than any other group of humans. I am proud to be a wham and hope this constant attack against white males stops soon. Well, I'm sure that comment rustled some feathers out there. This is some really crazy stuff, man. YouTube, it's like, I'm still obviously very grateful for it, and I'm glad I'm still here. I love the platform because it's a place I can reach people. I can share my ideas, and we can share ideas with each other, and we build these communities. It can be a fantastic thing, but it seems like YouTube's always up to some kind of shenanigans. Something that's just going to kind of screw the system up. Anyway, here's kind of the latest thing. Keemstar is a well-known YouTuber here, but Keemstar calls out YouTube for new policy on abusive super chats. Check this out. He posted a screenshot from an article detailing YouTube's updated terms of service regarding its super chat system, which allows users to purchase a special highlighted message that stays pinned to a video's live chat for a limited period of time. So obviously I don't use it, but most of you probably heard of it by now. If I was using it, then you could just click the super chat thing. It's basically a way for you to donate however much you wanted to. And then once you do that, your message kind of stands out from the rest, right? I mean, it's kind of a cool system. Like I said, I just never felt the need to use it. But so there's that. Anyway, the article explained that YouTube will now send the revenue from any abusive, quote unquote, abusive commenters who purchase a super chat to a charity of their choosing instead of splitting the amount between itself and the creator. Yes, you heard that right. I hope that sunk in. The article explained that YouTube will now send the revenue from any abusive, who's going to be judging how abusive this is, but from any abusive commenters who purchase a super chat to a charity of their choosing instead of splitting the amount between itself and the creators. I mean, the creators are getting screwed here. If a user is caught sending abusive super chats, the revenue received will be donated to charity instead of being split between YouTube and the channel's creator. That sucks. Anyway, Keemstar took issue with this development in his tweet, which he called unreal. Other users across Twitter are similarly up in arms about the change. It's a major yikes, one user commented. YouTube is taking money from someone who wanted to support you. Some YouTubers are calling for a boycott of the service, as suggested by a controversial IRL streamer, Ice Poseidon, who suggested that Keemstar disable super chats altogether. You could just disable super chat and force people to use Streamlabs. Easy fix to that, and gives YouTube reason to F off with this change. There you go. Thanks, YouTube. This is a very strange story here. Man 72 killed by group of aggressive rogue monkeys throwing bricks at him from tree. I wonder if that's one of the monkeys. Looks guilty, doesn't he? A man has been stoned to death by a group of rogue monkeys who threw bricks at him from a tree. Dhrampal Singh, 72, suffered head and chest injuries in the attack and was later pronounced dead in the hospital. He was collecting pieces of dry wood when the group of monkeys launched their attack on Thursday. I mean, that's a nightmare. Can you imagine? That really is a nightmare. It is believed the monkeys had armed themselves with bricks they had collected earlier from a rundown building nearby in Tikri. Villagers have repeatedly complained that aggressive monkeys in the area have made their lives hell, but the animals are a protected species, so little can be done. One of the culprits right there. Look at him. Hey, bums, get a job. Mr. Singh's brother, Krishna Paul, told the Times of India monkeys threw more than 20 bricks at Dhrampal on Thursday. Thrown from quite a height, the bricks were enough to kill him. These rogue monkeys are the real culprits and must pay for it. Mr. Singh's family has lodged a formal complaint and named monkeys as the accused, but police insisted they cannot prosecute monkeys and have declared Mr. Singh's death was an accident. Chitwan Singh, station officer at Dog Hat Police Station, said, "How can we register the case against monkeys?" He's trying to look all cute. Look at this one. We know he's evil, though. Trying to be all cute. Look at that. He says, "This will make us a laughingstock. Deadly attacks by monkeys have been on rise throughout the country, and wildlife experts say that rhesus macaques are usually to blame, although it's not clear which breed attacked Mr. Singh." Back in 2007, the deputy mayor of India's capital of Delhi, died after being attacked by a horde of wild monkeys. Wow. SS Bawa suffered serious head injuries when he fell from the first floor terrace of his home trying to fight them off. Bums. I mean, there you go. It's a crazy story, huh? What a terrible way to go. Okay. That's the rectangular monolith iceberg, once again, story. Oh yeah, check this thing out. This is pretty cool. Headless chicken monster. Let me blow this thing up a little bit. You got to check this thing out. It's a really rare sighting. We'll read along with them, but anyway, watch this. headless chicken monster has been filmed in the Southern Ocean. Creature is called, I can't pronounce that, or easily a sea cucumber. Look at that. Only been seen in the Gulf of Mexico before. Beautiful though, huh? Let's get back to the footage. Come on. It's pretty, huh? There you go. I guess that's kind of a doom break. Headless chicken monster fish. It's beautiful though. Government bans phrase fake news. The government has banned the term fake news after urging ministers to use misinformation or disinformation instead. The phrase, a favorite of U.S. President, oh, this isn't America, by the way. I believe this is the UK here they're talking about. The phrase, a favorite of U.S. President Donald Trump, will no longer appear in policy documents or official papers because it is a, oops. There we go. Sorry about that. Because it is a poorly defined and misleading term that conflates a variety of false information from genuine error through to foreign interference in democratic processes. That's a mouthful, officials said. While ministers may speak freely in the House of Commons, any strategy documents referring to election meddling or internet safety will need to use the new definition. The ban on the phrase was prompted by an inquiry into fake news led by the Digital Culture, Media, and Sports Committee to address the potential for social media to be used to sway elections. Wow. Here you go. They're banning the term fake news. Government bans the term fake news. It's a crazy world. And check this one out here too. YouTube CEO Susan Wojcicki warns users about EU meme ban. You guys heard about this? Here, we'll go ahead and actually, it's, a lot of people can't stand this lady, and I'm not crazy about things she does to YouTube either, but all that stuff aside, this is important information. So let's watch just a little bit of this. This could really change YouTube.
Hi everyone, this is Susan, which is
a game changer.
CEO of YouTube. I'm back to give an update on what's been happening the last few months. Thanks to all of your hard work, we continue to see strong momentum across the platform. In the last year, the number of channels with over 1 million subscribers has increased by about 75%. But I want to let you know about an important issue that could put the entire creator economy at risk. There is pending copyright legislation in the EU called Article 13 that could threaten your livelihood and drastically change the internet as we see it today. It may force internet platforms to either filter content dramatically or stop accepting uploads from individuals altogether. Article 13 could shut down millions of channels on YouTube in the EU and have a similar impact on other platforms. And it threatens the traffic of all creators globally, since it would block users in the EU from viewing some uploaded creator content. This decision may be finalized by the end of the year, so now is the time to speak up. Click on the link below to learn more and to take action immediately. Whether you live in Europe or not, tell the world why the creator economy is so important to you. We are doing everything we can to protect the creator economy, but your voice will have an incredible impact on the outcome. And now, here's the latest update on my 2018 priorities. Number 1.
Anyway, there you go. I think that's all we needed to hear. But yeah, so this is kind of a big deal. Article 13, kind of a big deal. So we'll keep an eye on that and see what happens. Here's a fun story for you. Thousands of Swedes are getting microchip IDs inserted into their hands to swipe into homes, offices, concerts, and even to access social media. I did a video on this years ago, man. I'm sure some of y'all have seen it, but it was all about this, how they were talking about how they're going to sell this to the people. And this was all part of it. You'll have access to your social media. You can check your email, things like this, that people will be begging for these chips, right? They're going to be begging for the technology. That was years ago. people were saying that. Now here we are. More than 4,000 Swedes are being implanted with a microchip that contains details about their identity. The miniature technology bypasses the need for cash, tickets, access cards, and even social media. Biohacks International is the market leader in the innovative industry and has captured public imagination since it started 5 years ago. Some people argue the conveniences gained from the procedure by so-called body hackers do not outweigh the risks of their private data. In June 2017, SJ Rail, the Swedish train operator, announced that around 100 people were using microchips to pay for their journey. Commuters with a microchip in their hand are able to have their ticket loaded directly onto the device. The train conductor can then read the chip with a smartphone to confirm the passenger has paid for their journey. And this is one of the most widespread and mainstream uses of the technology and has seen it to be adopted by a plethora of forward-thinking companies. Microchipping has even been adopted by professional social media platform LinkedIn. Was that supposed to be LinkedIn? I don't know. And then they give me a hard name to say. How do you say that with an S and a Z? Sylvia? That's it. Sylvia Varzeghi. I like saying that one. Then Sylvia Varzeghi. If I'm even saying that right. 28. So the chip basically solves my problems. Touching an event attendee's smartphone will allow the information to be transferred without the need for typing. Okay. There you go. It's coming. It's coming. The technology in itself is not new. Such chips are used as virtual collar plates for pets. Companies use them to track deliveries, but it's never been used to tag employees on a broad scale before. Epicenter and a handful of other companies are the first to make chip implants broadly available. And as with most new technologies, it raises security and privacy issues. Would you guys ever seriously, what if your company demanded you guys get chips? Then what? Porn is as harmful as cigarettes and must be treated as a major health crisis with new restrictions on social media. Pornography causes so much harm it should be treated like cigarettes and reckless driving, MPs demanded last night. Members of Commons Women and Equalities Committee said porn should receive as much public funding as other major health issues. The MPs insisted public places must be made safe for all women and girls as they call for a ban on viewing adult material on mobile phones on buses. The group made a raft of recommendations on how to curb the harmful impacts of pornography. And the committee also criticized social media firms such as Twitter and Facebook, noting online spaces are public places where sexual harassment of women and girls is rife. The MPs called on the government to force global internet giants to take action on the issue. The demands were made in a damning report which found many women and girls were left terrified by sexual harassment fears. It found girls as young as 10 were being sexually harassed, with many targeted because they were wearing school uniforms. Go figure. That school uniform has been so sexualized in our culture, right? For so long. That started in porn. Now it's been around for so long, it's certainly had an impact, right? Now you've got people creeping on little kids wearing their school uniforms because they've been so conditioned over that sexy schoolgirl thing, right? And more than 2 in 5 young women have been sent obscene photos. The MP suggested a nationwide public health campaign to warn of the dangers of pornography. In one infamous case, Nathan Matthews, who murdered his 16-year-old stepsister Becky Watts, was found to be obsessed with violent pornography. Matthews was believed to have watched a violent pornographic film before he throttled Miss Watts in her bedroom and then dismembered her body. Wow. Picture's worth 1,000 words, huh? It's a shame. What's that, Chubbs? Huh? Okay. So police found a 17-minute pornographic film which showed a victim being beaten up on her bed among 236 images and 21 movies discovered on his laptop. He was found guilty in 2015 of murdering Miss Watts in a sexually motivated kidnap from her home in Bristol. He was given a life sentence with a minimum term of, they always have the 33, right? 33 years in prison. His girlfriend, Shauna Horry, was cleared of murder but found guilty of manslaughter and sentenced to 17 years in prison. The report criticized the government for not having plans to address adult men's use of mainstream online pornography. Anyway, I do believe they had to. I'm glad that people are starting to take it more seriously and realize that pornography really is incredibly dangerous. There's a lady that has a YouTube channel. I just can't remember. I think it's Shelley Lieben, maybe Lebn, or Lubin, Lubn, or something. Anyway, she's an ex-porn star who's a Christian now, and she runs like a ministry where she helps people get out of porn or whatever. And I'm not sure if that was her name. I haven't seen any of her stuff for a long time. I don't think she's uploaded anything to her YouTube in a long time, but she was really interesting to listen to, talking about, she'd been in porn for many years. And when you hear some of these stories, it just takes away any allure that there might be there. Anything you think is sexy about porn just goes right out the window once you start hearing some of these stories, Now, especially how damaged, especially a lot of the women are, or how they'll come in not damaged and leave, completely damaged. I think this is a news story we're going to get to watch together. Let's see. Indeed it is. All right, check this out.
Controversial after middle school in Thornton brought in a drag queen to talk to kids about bullying. Some parents not too happy about it. This could be a first for a career day. Career day turned controversial after middle school in Thornton brought in a drag queen to talk to kids about bullying. Some parents not too happy about it. The district tells us they are accepting of others and how they choose to dress and live. Even so, as Dylan Thomas reports, they are now apologizing.
Giggles from students at Rocky Top Middle School echoed through the halls of the building last Friday as a drag queen made her way through. Video posted online shows the reactions of 6th through 8th graders. A relative of a student, drag queen Jessica Lahore, volunteered to speak.
I knew that was going to be controversial because that was something I would never expect to be allowed when I was growing up in middle school. And at the same time, I took it as an opportunity because I got to talk to a bunch of kids and kind of open up a new door for conversation.
District spokesperson Joe Ferdani.
The school's focus is to have an event that is representative of the diverse backgrounds and careers within their community.
Every class had one person ask me about how to handle with negativity, bullying.
The district apologized for not notifying parents.
Parents should have known in advance who was going to be speaking, and that didn't happen in this particular situation, and it will moving forward.
One student's parent sent CBS 4 an email saying, quote, "Parents are in an outrage, and this is so inappropriate on so many levels." Ferdani told CBS 4 he felt parents would have been more understanding and approving if the school gave prior context to the visit.
Have the overall goal of that be a message of self-love and finding a job that you love and staying in school.
I mean, sure, it's a great message, but seriously, do we really need it from a drag queen, for your children? That's the point, right? You could get maybe a local police officer or a couple firefighters or something like that. I get it, but what's the purpose of bringing in a drag queen, especially around those young minds, to give this basic life advice, right? It's weird. Identical twins, 23, who were born female, are now brothers after both coming out as transgender. We are living in a duality world, right? And they're going through the transition process together. Identical twins who were born female are now brothers after they both came out as transgender at the age of 18. Jack and Jace Grafe, now 23 and originally from Baltimore, Maryland, started life as Jacqueline and Jennifer in June 1995, growing up in a conservative Christian home. But despite being brought up in a happy household, the brothers admit they cried themselves to sleep as children and prayed to wake up as boys, not understanding what it meant to be transgender. Jack and Jace, who now live in Monroe, Georgia, came out at the age of 18 and are now transitioning as a duo in a rare case. They are both in happy relationships with women. The twins who share the same DNA have both grown facial hair since they began taking testosterone and underwent chest surgery. Now, the criminal justice graduates who both work in law enforcement have shared their extraordinary story in a bid to inspire others who may be going through similar experiences. That's them as girls. Chest surgery. Girls. Not sure where we're at on that one, on that part of the transition. There we go. Looks like guys now. Looks like guys. I don't know, man. I don't know. Sometimes it's just hard to process some of this stuff. China has cloned 20 different dog breeds, and humans are next. Here, we'll just read a little bit here. A 12-year-old Schnauzer has become the latest canine to undergo the process, which involves taking a skin sample from the animal. Wang Yingqing, who is the dog's owner, showed off the puppy to its father clone named Dao Dao in a recently released snap. However, despite the dogs having the identical DNA, scientists have said that they may have a different temperament as this is shaped by its upbringing. All right, whatever. Here we go. Just really, sometimes I'll just bring these stories up mainly for just the headline, because that's the imprinting I see. This is just more talk of clones and cloning. This is amazing footage. Check this out. Just give me a second here. Let me make this big screen. All right. Let's see if it plays. There you go. Check it out. Look at that, man. Wow. Can you imagine standing there and watching that? It's wild. All right. I guess it's not going to play again. So there you go. There was that. Mutant water creature with no eyes stuns locals. Never seen anything like it. Let's check this out. That's not it right there. It's a different. Julieta Garcia was managing a pedal boat service at the lake of San Roque known as Espejo de Agua in the municipality of Carlos Paz. Who cares where it's at? Let's talk about the monster. She told local media she saw the eel-like creature floating near a bridge which crosses the lake. She then approached the creature and found it was around 31 inches long and had a head which measures around 8 inches in diameter. Miss Garcia said she took the creature to the shore and posted photos of it on social media in order to find out what kind of an animal this is. And there it is. I know, like, over the last few shows, I've had some other videos where there was footage of these kind of things. Do you guys remember I mean, just a few weeks ago, I know there was one of them that I'm pretty sure they shot. It was in Los Angeles, right? But it was somewhere in the hood. The guys were making jokes about, what are they sending, into the hood? And they had these almost look like eel type creatures coming out of the whatchamacallit, out of the sewer there in the hood. So I don't know. That's why I wanted to post this one. And then there was another one it was random. Some guy was walking along and filmed some of these things. It's like, slipping around somewhere. I can't remember where. The weird creature appears to have the body of an eel, but with an unusually large head. She said, we asked fishermen, and they told us that at first sight it looks like a European eel, but none of them knew why it had such a big head. My grandfather has been working with activities to do with the lake since he was young, and he's never seen anything like this in his life. So just interesting. Weird new mutations, strange creatures. Look at that. Looks like a duck. Reports suggest the animal had been dead for several days when it was found. Had a putrid smell. People were quite to voice their opinion as to what the creature could be. One person said a water mirror with strange creatures. I don't even know what that means. A water mirror with strange creatures. I'm guessing a bot probably wrote this article. Or AI or something. Anyway. There you go. Kind of a monster. Speaking of monsters, serpents in the sky. I've done a video on the serpents in the sky. It's one of my old school from several years ago. It's called Sky Serpents Are Real, but What Are They? Anyway, they're still capturing them on film, so check this out. And there's a whole ancient history to the sky serpents, flying serpents, so it goes deep. Anyway, check this out.
Oh, I see.
Oh, good. I had it for a second. I've got it. I've got it.
That's awesome.
I've got it on camera, guys. Oh, whoa. That's like organic stuff.
That's so cool. Oh, it's going.
So weird. I was just going within doing a little prayer.
Oh my God, dude.
Show yourself.
See it on the camera. I can't see it. It looks like a worm.
Yeah, it looks like a sky worm.
That's awesome.
Look at this, James.
Look on the camera, Chief. Come over here behind him.
Isn't that awesome? It's awesome. This is definitely one I'm saving. I'll put that on a compilation. But yeah, sky serpents, man. Check out my video on there. I think it's called Sky Serpents Are Real, but What Are They? It's from maybe 2014, I think. This is a good one too. Something is happening in space. Bizarre video of... It's another one, and I've shown this anomaly in some of my past videos as well, so I'll be adding this one in too. Like I said, I need to do another paranormal video here soon. Put some of this in because these purple skies have been seeing all around the world as well, just randomly popping up in different countries. Check this out. This is in America, in Ohio.
Look at the sky. Why is it purple like that? Yo, that's crazy. I thought it was my tent for a minute, but then look at the it's purple. Let me put my phone out the window so y'all might think I'm tripping. Hold on. I wish this light would turn red. There's light green right here coming up. My camera might be blurry. I'm finna take my phone out charge real quick. Look at this shit. Look at this.
Wow.
That's out the window. That's crazy. Wow. This is in my car right now, but hold on, I'm finna look out the window. Look at this.
Wow. And again, this has been happening all around the world. There you go. That's pretty wild, right? Like I said, I'll put that together. There's so much going on, man. It's crazy. Hard to keep up with, I mean, there's just so much weirdness happening up in the skies here lately. This is some pretty cool footage as well. They always say Nibiru in these things, or Nibiru, however you pronounce it. come on. Let me pause this. Okay. Let's see if we can watch it over here. It is cool footage, but they're saying Nibiru theorists have been whipped into a frenzy by the strange footage in North Carolina, United States. So let's blow this up and take a look at it. Ready?
What is that? Dude, the sun's not over there, is it? What the fuck is east? Wow, that is weird. Holy shit.
Signs in the skies, huh? It's pretty wild. Nibiru. So now we're starting to see some of these stories. You know, oftentimes, I know it's not a very happy subject, but, you know, I've been kind of watching for the event, you know, for a really long time, and so have many of you. The event that's really going to launch us into a full-on New World Order, Antichrist being revealed, the microchips, you know, all that stuff, right? What would be the triggering event? And I've done a lot of videos on this in the past. You know, I've got my things I'm watching for and theories and ideas. You know, the symbols show us a lot of things as well. So, but I've been waiting for a while to see, you know, again, who will be behind the event, or who is it going to be blamed on, more to the point. You know, who are they going to blame the event on? I keep thinking they're going to set up Russia, of course, or maybe it really will wind up being Russia. Who knows? But now we're starting to get stories like this. Putin hails sunset of U.S. global domination due to mounting mistakes. Russian President Vladimir Putin. And again, you know, for all you know, this is state-sponsored propaganda. You know, I mean, it's still interesting. Russian President Vladimir Putin gloated Thursday about what he sees as the end of the United States world dominance due to growing mistakes. Putin also claimed America holds some responsibility for the disappearance of Washington Post columnist Jamal Khashoggi because a Saudi journalist was living in the U.S. He said his an annual foreign policy speech, according to the Financial Times. He did not elaborate. Khashoggi has not been seen since he entered the Saudi consulate in Istanbul on October 2nd. Turkish officials say he was murdered and dismembered by orders of Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. In this regard, the U.S. has a certain responsibility. If someone knows what happens and there is a murder, I hope some evidence is provided, and dependent on that, we will make some decisions, Putin added in his remarks in the Black Sea resort of Sochi. He said there was currently no reason to harm our relations with Saudi Arabia. As for the U.S., he said that empires often think they can make some little mistakes because they're so powerful. But when the number of these mistakes keeps growing, it reaches a level they cannot sustain. He added, a country can get the sense from impunity that you can do anything. This is the result of the monopoly from a unipolar world. Luckily, this monopoly is disappearing. It's almost done. That kind of harkens back to a little bit. Some people believe that Putin's fighting against the New World Order and fighting against the globalists, right? You've probably heard that narrative. I'm not sure if you have or not, but it's an interesting narrative itself. Putin also boasted that Russia's hypersonic weapon system will be the best in the world within months. Such a system would allow missile speeds of at least 5 times the speed of sound, or about 1 mile per second. The U.S. is currently incapable of defending itself against such a system. Putin said Russia's nuclear weapons would be used only to retaliate against an enemy strike. We have no concept of a preemptive strike, Putin said in response to a question. The aggressor will have to understand that retaliation is inevitable, that it will be destroyed, and that we, as victims of aggression, as martyrs, will go to heaven. That's not very fun talk, is it? It sounds pretty hardcore. There you go. Thor's hammer discovered in Iceland, shocked Viking find. It's a small hammer. It's really not the size of Thor's hammer, the comic book character, but I added this, and I'll be putting this into a bigger video. I did another video several years ago about ancient gods returning, for the apocalypse, something like that. And this falls into that too. I need to update that video and just do a new one because there's this whole almost a subliminal message in some ways, but there's this kind of hidden undercurrent I've connected to over the last, year or so. And there's a lot of stories about ancient rituals coming back, ancient gods returning, ancient belief systems coming back, all of it coming to a head, for the very end, the way I see it. But anyway, I'm rambling a bit, and I will make that video though. So this will be one that I kind of toss in there on that side. Thor's hammer discovered. It just takes us back to some of the history in that area. Halloween will curse your family. Former Satanist warns Christians against celebrating. While Halloween fever seems to grip America in October, just 13% of Christians in the U.S. agree with celebrating. And former Satanist John Ramirez, who is a high-ranking priest in a devil-worshipping cult, has warned everyone against celebrating Halloween as it opens the door for demons. Mr. Ramirez believes the holiday, which was originally started as a remembrance of the dead, belongs to the devil and his worshippers, and says that once you celebrate Halloween, your family could be cursed for generations to come. In an interview with CBN, Mr. Ramirez said, "I was a general to the kingdom of darkness and witchcraft. I would sit with the devil and talk to him like I'm talking to you today. It was that kind of communication. It was that kind of relationship. Sometimes people say, I celebrated Halloween 10 years ago. I did this 15 years ago. I did this 20 years ago. But the door is still open. You just cursed your family from 3 to 4 generations. You have to be aware it's a curse. You have to go back to the place where you started, that year that you started that Halloween thing, the celebration when you started having that encounter with the dark side. You have to go back to that same spot and renounce it in the name of Jesus Christ and ask God to forgive you so that God can have mercy and close that door so your whole family can move forward." However, Pastor Alan Rudnick believes it's time for Christians to claim Halloween as their own. Pastor Rudnick wrote on his blog, "Halloween is often associated with the pagan concept of Samhain, the festival where ancient pagans believed that the worlds of the living and dead would have been thinly divided. But we have seen from the other ancient pagan festivals associated with Christmas and Easter that these pagan connections do not serve as a reason why we cannot celebrate a Christian holiday. Halloween marks the night of All Hallows Evening or All Hallows Eve, a period of mourning for the dead, saints, and Christian martyrs. Halloween celebrations are rooted in the Gaelic start of winter known as Samhain. Samhain is an ancient Gaelic festival marking the start of winter and the end of the harvest seasons. All right, there you go. China's super collider could rip the fabric of the universe. Shock claim. The East Asian nation is building a particle accelerator which will be 7 times as powerful, check this out, 7 times as powerful as the Large Hadron Collider in Switzerland. With a circumference of 34 miles, it will also be twice as big as the LHC. When CERN began work on the LHC, many feared it could end the universe or create black holes on Earth. Now, with China's plans to build a more powerful particle accelerator, the Circular Electron Positron Collider, the fears of inevitably rose again. Space website The Daily Galaxy paraphrased astrophysicist Martin Rees and wrote, "There's a chance the colliders could cause a catastrophe that engulfs space itself." Mr. Rees warned innovation is often hazardous, but that physicists should be circumspect about carrying out experiments that generate conditions with no precedent, even in the cosmos. Wang Yifeng, another fun name. A lot of fun names tonight. Wang Yifeng. That's Wang Yifeng, man. Wang Yifeng, director of the Institute of High Emergency Physics at the Academy, confirmed the CEPC's power. He said LHC is hitting its limits of energy level. It seems not possible to escalate the energy dramatically. The technical route was we chose is different from the LHC. While the LHC smashes together protons, it generates Higgs particles together with many other particles. Mr. Wang Yifeng, told China Daily the CEPC, which is set to be built near the start of the Great Wall, creates a clean environment that only produces Higgs boson particles. All right, interesting. We shall see. Trying to rip the veil, trying to open that pit, right? Check this out. This story went kind of mainstream, I think. Brett Kavanaugh, which has placed mass hex on Supreme Court justice during New York protest ritual. The spell, which was live streamed on Facebook and Instagram on Saturday, was also targeted at all rapists in the patriarchy, which emboldens, rewards, and protects them. Organizers at the Catland Occult Bookshop in Brooklyn said the hex was an act of resistance and resilience, following the controversy over allegations of sexual assault against Mr. Kavanaugh. He will be the focal point, but by no means the only target. So bring your rage and all of the axes you've got to grind, the bookshop told its followers. Again, this is that Antichrist spirit, as I was saying earlier. This is the rise of, this is hate, right? This is the rise of wickedness, of violence. So instead of, people praying like us, we would be praying for our situations, or for situations in life. These people are placing curses on and hexes. You see, here's the difference, right? Directions on how to cast a stripped-down version of the spell at home were also provided on Facebook. The ingredients included graveyard dirt, coffin nails, a black candle, a broken mirror, and revenge oil. I'm not going to get into all that. I guess they tried to explain how to do a spell, right? Look at that. People just going crazy, man. Losing it. The rise of the Antichrist spirit, right? Anyway, and that, I believe that concludes my news stories for the week. So let me go ahead and jump over here real quick to the chat. Say hi. Hey guys, how you doing? Thanks again for being here. Appreciate it. Got a wonderful crowd. So yeah, like I said, thanks again. I hope you enjoyed the show. Big shout out once again to my Patreon friends out there. A shout out to people who help me out on PayPal from time to time, supporting the work and the shows. And also, if you want to support my work, you can check out Silver Botanicals. I'll leave a link below. Check out their essential oils or some of their household products as well. Anything you purchase from them goes to support my shows and my work. So thank you. Yeah, I put up a special message earlier today just saying hi to you guys, giving you an update on everything. I'm doing good. My new video is going to be up in the next couple days. And just thanks again for your patience, guys. Like I said, I've had to focus more on my own personal life a whole lot here lately than I'm used to or that I wanted to, and routine. But I'm working through it, and I'll never stop making my videos and shows. I just sometimes have to slow down a little bit. But I'm coming back. I've got plenty to do. So anyway, man, I love you guys. Thanks again for being here. You all take care. Have a good one. And like I said, new video coming up this week. And we'll be back next week.